Pilates mat class. We are going to utilize a small Pilates ball today. If you don't have access to one, you could do this with a soft foam yoga block instead, or even a small pillow. If you're used to a classical Pilates class, just a heads up, this is going to be a little different. I am STOTT Pilates trained, and then I put my own flair on top of that. We're going to start with the ball between our legs for a warm-up and tabletop. So I want you to put the ball between your thighs and then hands under shoulders, knees under hips. We're going to start with a cat-cow, but we're going to articulate the spine starting from the tailbone, working our way up. So first, in neutral, natural curves of the spine, I want you to inhale to prepare through the nose. And then as you exhale slowly out through the mouth, I want you to start by drawing that tailbone under, rounding through the lumbar spine, working your way up to mid and upper spine, coming into that rounded position. Stay for an inhale, expanding into the back body. And now as you exhale slowly out through the mouth, again, start with the tailbone. You're untucking it, elongating that spine through neutral and then into a little bit of extension. Inhale here. On the exhale, start with the lower spine. Rounding into your cat position. Stay for an inhale, directing that breath into the back of your rib cage. On your exhale, start with the tailbone. Coming through neutral into a subtle extension. One more time. Inhale here. Exhale, round. Start with your tailbone. Stay for an inhale. And then on your exhale, I just want you to elongate through neutral. Now from here, I want you to shift your hips back a couple inches. You're going to take the back of your left hand to your forehead. On an inhale, we're going to open twist. And then on an exhale, you're just going to bring that left elbow towards your right forearm. I had you shift your hips back so that we take some weight out of this stationary right hand. Twist is coming from the mid-spine. One more this side. And then both hands on the mat. Hips are still shifted back slightly. Now the back of your right hand comes to your forehead. Inhale, open twist. Exhale, close it. Keep going. I slept a little funny last night because my dogs sleep in the bed with me and they are a pain. So this feels so good right now for that mid-back. Last time. And then from here, I want you to shift back forward, both hands down, shoulders stacked over wrists. You have a gentle squeeze on that ball. We're just going to do some deep core work, and on an exhale, we're going to add in a squeeze of that ball without actually moving your knees, the position of the knees. We're just going to activate through those adductors, those inner thighs. So I want you to inhale to prepare. As you inhale, we relax to the pelvic floor, and then as you exhale slowly out through the mouth, gentle squeeze in on that ball. So it's probably not even visible. Inhale, relax. Exhale, ribs start to move in and down. You engage that abdominal wall. Gentle lift to the pelvic floor. Squeeze on that ball. Inhale, release. Final time like this. On an inhale, relax. And then I want you to tuck the toes under. Now we're going to do that same thing, but on the exhale, we're going to squeeze the ball and we're going to bring our knees to a hover. So we inhale to prepare. Exhale slowly out through the mouth. Engage the abdominal wall. Little lift to the pelvic floor. Squeeze the ball. Knees come to a 1-inch hover. And as you inhale, you return those knees back down to the mat. Keep going like that. Exhale. Squeeze the ball. Knees lift to a 1-inch hover. Inhale, lower the knees. Maintain length to the back of your neck as you do this. So neutral through the spine. Now next time up, we're going to hold that bear plank position. So you exhale, knees to a 1-inch hover. Now staying here, continuing to breathe, I just want a little pulse in on that ball. Pulse in, little squeeze, in, in, waking up those adductors, those inner thighs. Continue to breathe, slow and controlled for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, hips up in 3, 2, 1. Lift those hips up, heels down, downward dog. Stay here for a breath. We're going to do a second set of those. So bending the knees, returning your hips to shoulder height in that bear plank position. Second round, little squeeze in on that ball. As you do this, check in on your arms. You're not completely locked out, so there's just this little invisible softness. Squeeze for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, hips up in 3, 2, 1. Hips up, straighten those legs, down dog. All right, we're going to do one final set. Bend the knees, bring them to a hover, long neutral spine, little squeeze in on that ball. You pulse it in. If this is too much, you can do it with your knees down. Third and final set here. Give me 8, 7, 6, 5. Little squeeze for 4, 3, 2, 1. I want you to lower the knees, cross at the ankles, come to sit down. You're going to bring the ball into your hands. We're going to come into some flexion-based core work. So you have options here. You can do this with your legs straight. If you're tight through the hamstrings or the hips though, and you can't find a neutral lower back in this position, like I'm pretty tight so it's hard for me, then I would suggest you bend the knees so that you can have that natural curve of your lower spine at the top. Legs are going to be together, arms reach forward. We're going to start with a half roll back. So on an exhale, you're going to start to roll your hips away from your thighs, scooping through that lumbar spine, coming back behind your sitting bones. And then as you inhale, we roll back up to neutral. To start, just a gentle squeeze in on that ball. Exhale, rolling it back. Inhale up. So kind of think back to how we started class with that cat-cow variation where we initiated it with that articulation of the lumbar spine. We're kind of building off of that here. Especially if you spend a lot of time seated, maybe you have a desk job, we tend to be tight through the hips, and that causes us to hyperextend or have a big arch into the lower back. So this is a great move to kind of counter that, working on flexion through that lumbar spine to counter the hyperextension a lot of us have, myself included, although I've been working on it and it's a lot better now. We're going to start adding in, coming up. We'll pause at the bottom and add in a twist. When we sweep open, the ball is going to be in your left hand. So I want you to exhale, roll to the back of your sitting bones. Now as you inhale, ball stays in the left hand, twist open to the left, that left arm sweeps back. Inhale, bring it through center, and then we come to balance, or we come up to neutral. Exhale, roll behind the sitting bones. Inhale, twist it open. Exhale, back through center. Inhale, roll it up. Keep going like that. Well, now one more, just like we've been doing, and then we're going to hold at the bottom. We're going to keep the twist going. We're going to add in an overhead raise as well. So next time you roll to the back of those sitting bones, hold. You are open through the chest. We're going to twist it open. We're going to bring it through center. Gently squeezing in on that ball. Arms are going to reach overhead, and they're going to lower to chest height. Keep that going. We twist. Center it off. Arms lift up and lower. Now, I don't care how high up those arms get. If you're tight through the shoulders, it might not be very high at all, and that is fine. Twice more. Twist. Can you get 1 inch lower in this? Final time. Arms reach overhead. They lower to chest height. And now vertebrae by vertebrae, I want you to roll all the way down on the mat. You're going to bring the ball on top of your left thigh, and then I want you to bend your right knee and plant that right foot on the floor. Right arm is going to go overhead. We're going to do a teaser variation. You keep your right foot down on the floor though. So as you inhale, that right arm is going to start sweeping up towards the ceiling. As you exhale, you're going to nod the chin, and vertebrae by vertebrae, you're going to roll up behind your sitting bones as you kind of roll that ball along your thigh, right arm overhead. Now, keeping the right arm overhead, you're going to roll back down to the starting position. Again, inhale, arm sweeps up. Exhale, nod the chin. Come up. Left leg is lifted. And we lower it down. 3 more times. Final time. And I want you to hold at the top. Now from here, we're going to bring both knees to a hover. The ball is in both hands, and I want you to bring it under your thighs, so we're balancing behind the sitting bones. We're going to extend out to a hover, to an ab curl. We're going to pass the ball overhead. So as the legs straighten out and you lower into your ab curl position, ball is in your left hand, it passes over, right hand grabs it. As you exhale to come back up behind your sitting bones, we pass the ball under our thighs. Keep going like that. Now you maintain a gentle nod of the chin at the bottom so that the gaze is at your knees. The legs don't need to be super low. You can always reach them up at a higher angle to help support that lower back. Three more. Final time, then we hold at the top. Hold at the top. Open through the chest. Scoop so that we're behind the sitting bones. Maybe you straighten out those legs. Hold here and breathe. Give me 4, 3. You're going to cross the legs in 2 and 1. Come to a cross-legged position. Hands can be on your knees. And just give me a little cat-cow, opening up through the chest and rounding back. All right, so we're going to repeat that same thing. We're just going to do it on the other side. You're going to stay just as you are. I'm just going to flip this way so that I have space to go open in that twist. So again, you can do this first part legs straight, or if you're a little tight through the hamstrings, the hips, then you can bend the knees. You can have your heels down. We're going to gently squeeze that ball between both hands, but without rounding the shoulders. So I want you to stay open through the chest. We're going to start with that half roll back. So as you exhale, you're rolling your hip bones away from your thighs, coming to the back of the sitting bones, back of the pelvis. As you inhale, you're rolling up to neutral. So at the top, you have a gentle curve of the low spine. Exhale, lumbar flexion. Inhale to neutral. So you know what to expect. Coming up, we'll just add in that twist open at the bottom. When we twist open, it'll be the right hand that holds the ball, and you'll just kind of sweep it back, twisting through the thoracic spine, that mid-spine. So let's start adding it in. On an exhale, you're going to roll to the back of the pelvis. Inhale, ball stays in that right hand, sweep it up and back, or down and back, I should say. Back through center, come up through neutral. We have that hold at the bottom coming up. We'll keep the twist going. We'll add in an overhead raise. Next time down, we're going to hold at the back of the pelvis. You twist it open. You twist it closed. Both hands gently squeeze that ball as you lift overhead, lower to chest height. Twist and sweep. Center. So we are scooped. We are in a flexed position through that lower spine. But we are open through the chest, and we're thinking of reaching the crown of our head long. Three more. We have one more and then we'll roll all the way down to the mat. We twist it open. Bring it through center. Arms overhead, arms to chest height, and then vertebrae by vertebrae, I want you to roll all the way down to the mat. Now from here, your right leg is going to stay straight. Your right palm is on the ball, securing it against that right thigh. Left knee is bent, not in too tight, foot on the floor, left arm overhead. Inhale, left arm starts to sweep up towards the ceiling. As you exhale, you nod the chin. The leg is going to lift up as you roll the ball along the thigh. Left arm reaches up towards the ceiling. Keeping the left arm up, we're going to lower back down vertebrae by vertebrae to the starting position. Inhale, arm up. Exhale, nod the chin. Vertebrae by vertebrae, roll up to bounce behind those sitting bones. And then with control, we lower back down. 3 more. Don't worry about how high up this right leg gets. You want to more so focus on the control through the core, coming behind that sitting bone. All right, last time. Inhale, arm up. Exhale, nod the chin. We're going to hold at the top here. And then from here, we're going to take that left foot. We're going to bring it off the mat, bend both knees. So we're in this V-sit position, balance behind our sitting bones. We're going to extend out, lowering down, passing the ball in a circle, okay? So as you lower down, right hand brings the ball overhead, left hand grabs it. As you exhale, you come back up to balance behind those sitting bones, pass the ball underneath your thighs. Keep going like that. Gaze is at your knees. Inhale to lower. Exhale to come up. 3 more. Last time, and we hold at the top. Hold at the top. Balls behind your thighs. You're open through the chest though. Maybe you stay here with knees bent. Maybe you straighten out those legs. Hold. You're open through the chest. Scoop through that lower spine. You got it. On my count, with control, you're going to lower all the way down to the mat. In 3, 2, 1. With control, lower all the way down to the mat. Let's take a quick full body stretch. Arms overhead, legs long. We're going to come into some hip bridge work. So now I want you to take the ball and you're going to place it between your thighs. Bend the knees, heels under knees. Squeeze gently in on that ball, arms down by your sides. We're going to start by just lifting and lowering the hips. So on an exhale, the hips lift up, maintain that squeeze in on the ball. Inhale to lower. Exhale them up. Inhale to lower. So the lift is coming from the glutes, not by just clenching the lower back. So I want you to think of reaching your tailbone towards your knees as the hips lift up so that we maintain more of a neutral lower back and not that hyperextension. We're going to hold the top up next. Gentle squeeze in on that ball. In 3, 2. Next time you lift those hips up, hold them at the top. It's a little squeeze in on that ball. You squeeze it in, firing up through the adductors, those inner thighs. Now coming up next is going to be challenging. We're going to straighten out one leg at a time. So we're in a single leg bridge position, trying not to drop the ball. Give me 8, 7, 6, 5, pulse for 4, 3, 2. Now hold that squeeze in on the ball. I want you to plant down firmly through your right foot. And on an exhale, I want you to straighten that left leg out so it's at a hover, thighs are parallel. Keep your hips equidistant from the ceiling. Now give me a little squeeze in on that ball through that left leg. It squeezes in. You're here for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, foot down in 3, 2, 1. Bend the knee, replace that foot. Readjust, hips are still lifted. We're going to do the same thing over to the other side. So now plant your left foot down firmly, straighten out through that right leg, thighs are parallel. Squeeze that right knee in. in on the ball. Keep reaching up through those hips. It's 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bend the knee, replace the foot. Let's start from the top. Hips lower all the way down and up. Ooh, my feet keep slipping. Maybe a sign I need to clean this mat. Lowering and lifting. So we're going to do a second time through that. 3 sets total, but I'll give you a little pause before the third one. We're going to hold the hips at the top, a little squeeze in on that ball. Next time up, hold the hips high, little pulse. In, squeezing that ball. Make sure you're not flaring open through the front of your rib cage, connected to the abdominal wall to help maintain neutral. We have that single leg work coming up. We'll start by keeping the right foot down, straightening the left leg. In 4, 3, 2, 1. I want you to kick that left leg straight. Keep reaching those hips up, pulse in on that ball for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Replace the left foot. Hips are level. Same thing. Now just on an exhale, straighten your right leg out. Keep reaching the hips up. Start pulsing in on that ball for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Both feet to the floor, both knees down. Give me a quick hug, knees in towards your chest. You can bring them kind of wide towards your armpits, maybe a little rock side to side. All right, we have a third and final set coming up, and then you're done with hip bridge work. We'll come into side body work. So balls between your thighs. Feet are about sitting bones distance apart, maybe a little narrower depending on how big your ball is. Arms down by your side. Start by lifting and lowering. Third and final set, you got this. Really ground down through those feet. We'll hold at the top and squeeze in on that ball, both feet down. 3, 2. Next time up, hold those hips up, little squeeze in on that ball. Woo! Inner thighs are talking to me. We're going to go into that single leg work. To start, kick your left leg straight in 3, pulse for 2, squeeze that ball, right foot stays down, left leg straight, hips up, little pulses in for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, switch sides in 3, 2, 1. Left foot goes down, hips level, right leg goes straight, pulse in on that ball. Give me 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, both feet down, 3, 2, 1. Keep the hips lifted, both feet down, squeeze in on that ball to finish. You got it. Fire through the glutes to push those hips up. Almost there, 10 more seconds. Side body work up next. Here for 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower those hips down. Another hug in towards your chest. Okay, so you're going to mirror me. So let's roll onto our right side body. The ball is going to go behind the left knee. So once you have the ball secured behind that back left knee, let's get into alignment here. We're going to prop ourselves up on our bottom form. Make sure your elbow and your hip are in alignment here. We're really pushing the floor away. And then I want you to hop your legs all the way up so that the shins are almost parallel to the front of the mat. So we kind of have this 90-degree angle here. We're going to lift this top left leg up to hip height and keeping it parallel to the floor, squeeze in on that ball. And I just want you to swing it back and forward. So hip extension, hip flexion. Keep squeezing in on the ball. Now this first part, I'm going to have my foot flexed. And for the second part, I will have it pointed. At any point, if there's cramping, I want you to just switch between pointed and flexed, and that can help. So our side body is active here too. We're definitely going to focus a lot in on this hip, but I want obliques working as well so we don't sink into that bottom shoulder. We really press the floor away. So coming up, we're going to hold back so the hip will be in an extended position, and we will lift and lower the leg. By keeping the ball back there, we're staying active through the hamstrings. We're going to hold hip extension in 2. Next time it swings back, hold, little squeeze of the ball. I want you to lower the leg and lift. We lower and lift, getting into that side butt area. But as the leg lifts, you don't counter by collapsing into this side body. So think length through the sides of your waist. We're going to hold that knee lifted. We're going to squeeze in on that ball up next. Keep reaching long through this thigh. That further helps us stay lifted and stable through the pelvis instead of a rocking through the pelvis. So it might mean you don't lift that leg all the way high, or that far up at all, and that is fine. It doesn't have to be super high. Hold in 4, 3, 2, hold that leg at a hover, and from here I just want you to squeeze in on that ball, trying to fire through the hamstrings. We're extended through the hips. Hamstrings, glutes, fire as we squeeze that ball. Now if squeezing the ball any deeper than it already is bothers your knee, then just hold in stillness. Squeeze, squeeze. Now we're going to explore some internal and external rotation within this hip joint. So we'll dip knee to the floor, then foot to the floor. Hold that squeeze in 3, 2, hold that squeeze. Make sure you're in an extended position through the front of the hip. Now we're going to internally rotate, and I want you to bring the knee down to tap the mat if possible. Maybe it doesn't get that low. And then we're going to externally rotate, bring your heel to the floor. So we have knee and then heel. Thigh bone is internally and externally rotating within that hip joint. It's a very controlled movement, using those deep hip rotators to control it. Try not to rock through the pelvis as you do this. So we're keeping that top left hip stacked directly over the right, and it's just the thigh bone, that leg, moving within the hip joint. We're going to hold the leg at a hover in 3, 2, hold that leg at a hover, start parallel, and I just want you to do the external rotation here. Make sure you're in that extended hip position, so don't let the knee creep forward. Externally rotate, parallel. So the heel is just dropping down. Maybe it touches the mat, maybe it doesn't. Now we're going to fire up through the bottom side outer hip as well. Coming up, we're going to hop this bottom right knee back a few inches. We'll come into a modified side plank. 3, last 2, 1. From here, I want you to take this bottom knee, hop it back. The knee is still a little in front of the hip because I want a hinging motion, but not super far, or not as far in front. So thighs start parallel, and then as we lift the hips up, we abduct that top leg to a hover. We lower. Notice my hips are going back and then forward. So there's a little hinge. Adding in that hinge helps us fire up through the glute med on the bottom side. Now I'm going to point through the ankle here for the remainder of the series. You can keep the foot flexed if you prefer. We'll hold at the top. Top leg will lift and lower. In 3, 2, next time up, hold. Now just that bottom leg is going to pulse up and down, up and down. You have just one more variation to get through. We'll squeeze in on that ball. Make sure you're pressing the hips up. Pelvis is square. In 4, 3, we switch the pulse. In 2, 1, now let's a little squeeze in on that ball to finish. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, hold your final squeeze, hips up a little higher, you got it. Here for 3, 2, 1, hips down, legs can stack, you can remove the ball. Let's take a counter stretch, right arm can sweep up and over. All right, we're gonna do that same series on the other side. So we're gonna flip around, now you're gonna be propped up on your left forearm, and we're gonna squeeze the ball behind our right knee. I gotta come up here. All right, so hip and elbow in line to start, and then we're going to hop the thighs up like this. Really squeeze that ball. Now we're lifted through the side body, you're really pressing the mat away, and then we're long through the waist, and we're gonna bring that right leg up to a hover. Foot is gonna be flexed to start if you're doing the same pointing and flex pattern as me, I should say. There we go, can't talk. And we're just gonna swing it forward and back. So hip flexion and extension. The positioning of this bottom leg gives us support, so we can really hold that pelvis still as the leg moves. I want you to notice if there are any differences between the sides. This side feels a little clunkier. It's not as smooth. Our sides are different, and also days are different. Some days we may feel different than others doing the exact same thing. Totally normal. We're going to hold the leg back in a hip extended position. We'll lift and lower. Next time you swing it back, pause. Now you're just going to lower the leg down and lift. Maybe it touches the floor, maybe it doesn't. That's not important. Now we're not countering the lift of the leg with a collapsing into the side body or a rocking of the pelvis. So this might be a small movement, and that's fine. You don't have to get the leg up very high. We'll hold the leg up. We'll squeeze in on that ball. In 3, 2, next time up, hold. Now it's a little squeeze in on the ball. Now try to control the squeeze so it's not a bounce. In pause, squeeze and hold, hold. Stay open through the front of this hip, trying to fire up through the hamstrings and the glutes. Little squeeze, pulling that heel in. We'll explore rotation up next, internal to external. Instead of keeping the thigh at a parallel hover as we do it, we're going to bring the knee all the way down to tap the floor if possible. In 4, 3, squeeze for 2, hold that squeeze. Internal rotation, knee towards floor. And then external rotation, heel goes towards floor. If possible, adding in that lower so that the knee taps the floor. That may not happen though. You might have to keep the thigh to hover at parallel, and that is okay too. We are not rocking through the pelvis as we do this. It is that leg moving within the hip joint. We'll hold the thigh at parallel up next to start. It'll be at a hover, and we'll just focus on that external rotation, trying to get those deep lateral rotators of the hip to fire. In 2, last time internal, come to parallel, reach that thigh long, and let's just do external. So that's heel towards floor, external rotation, squeezing into the glutes. Up next, we're going to fire up through the bottom outer hip as well. We'll have that modified side plank series. 4 more here. 3, 2, last time. Now take this bottom left leg, and I just want you to hop it back a little bit. The knee is still in front of your hip slightly though, because we're going to lift and lower with the hinge. So as the hips lift up, abduct your top leg, and then they lower down and stack. I'm going to do it pointed through the foot now. Four more, and we hold at the top. Next time up, hold. It's a little pulse down and up of that top leg. Keep reaching the hips up, make sure they're stacked. Right on top of left. Little lift, little lift. We'll switch the pulse to finish. Instead of pulsing up, you'll squeeze in on that ball. In 4, 3, 2, 1. Now you squeeze in on the ball. It may be small. Try not to bounce it. In, squeeze. Squeeze, hold. Squeeze, hold. In 4, you hold the squeeze. 3, 2, hold your final squeeze. Hips up a little higher. You got it. Here for 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower those hips. Remove the ball. Let's take a counter stretch. Left arm up and over. All right, we have prone work to finish up this workout. So we're going to lay down on the mat. Your legs can be either together, or if you're tight through the lower back, I might suggest them being a little wider. I like to take a little wider position for this. Personally, works best for my body. From here, let's start with the ball in our right hand, and that arm's going to be outstretched. And then we're going to bend the left forearm in, and we're going to rest our forehead on our left hand, okay? And we're going to keep this left forearm down for support for the first good chunk of this. So once you find that position, let's engage through our abdominal wall. So we're neutral through the pelvis. We're bracing through that core. Keeping your forehead down on your hand to start, I just want you to lift and lower this right arm. It doesn't have to be big. It's a little lift off the floor and a lower. We're breathing through this. So this is going to be a challenge for shoulders, not just stability and strength, but also mobility. Coming up, we're going to keep this lift going of the arm, but we're going to add in a spinal extension. When we do, our forehead will come off of our hand, but we're going to keep that left forearm down. Give me 2 more like this, just the arm. Final time. And now from here, I want you to inhale, grow long through the crown of your head. We come up into a low spinal extension, and then you lower down. So the upper spine is lifting up along with that arm. So as we come into our extension, our gaze shifts slightly up, but I'm talking just to the front edge of your mat. You're not craning the neck at all. Lift is coming from your mid-spine, so think base of your shoulder blades. We're staying pretty neutral through the lower spine. Now we're going to add on to this. It's going to be a 4-part movement. We're going to lift up. We're going to sweep this right arm back. We'll sweep it forward and we'll lower. So let's do that. I want you to inhale as you come up into your extension. Exhale, right arm sweeps back, open through the chest. We sweep it forward. We lower down. Still keeping that left forearm down for support. Although coming up, it will come off the mat. Stay bracing through the core so that we're not just dumping all of this into the lower back. So coming up, the ball is going to be in both hands overhead. I want you to think back to what we did in our core section, that sort of circular passing motion of the ball from one hand to the other. We're going to bring that back in. So next time you lower down, I want you to pause, and now I want you to reach your left arm onto the ball as well. Press your legs firmly down into the mat. As you inhale, right hand is going to pass the ball behind your back to the left hand. So we rise up, you sweep the arms back, pass the ball over to your left hand, sweep it forward as you lower down to the mat. So we're making a big circle here. We come up into the extension, ball passes behind our back, lower down, ball overhead. Now, if you're tight to the shoulders, you may not be able to pass the ball, and that is okay. If so, just keep it in your right hand and just focus on sweeping it forward and back. Twice more. We're going to hold the second one with the hands back. All right, we come into that extension and pause. Now I'm going to squeeze both hands into midline. Maybe both hands are on the ball and you're squeezing the ball. I'm not quite open enough through the shoulders, so I'm just squeezing both hands into midline. Maybe you stay here, or maybe those legs come to a hover as well. So you're in this long, low hover. Squeezing everything into midline. Squeeze legs together, squeeze hands in towards each other. Maybe you're able to squeeze the ball. You're here for 4, for 3, for 2, 1. I want you to lower down, bend the knees, one cheek to the mat, and just windshield wiper those knees side to side. All right, so we're going to do the same thing, just on the other side. And then we cool down. So we're going to switch up the position. So now I want your right hand down, forehead's going to rest on it. Your left arm has the ball, and you stretch it overhead. Thighs can be together or parallel. We're neutral through the pelvis, so brace through the abdominal wall. We're going to start just by lifting up on that left arm. So it lifts to a low hover and taps the floor. So we're really focusing on the upper half in this prone section, but that does not mean that your legs are inactive. You're pressing them down into the floor. There's a gentle engagement through the glutes, and that's going to help hold your pelvis still and neutral as we move through the upper half. Now we're going to add in that spinal extension up next. When we do, you can keep your right forearm down on the mat for support. 2 more like this. Last time. Now we add in that spinal extension. So as you inhale, you reach long through the crown of your head. Spine extending as the arm lifts and lowers. Lift is coming from the mid-spine, so think of growing long and then up. If you think just sheer height, that's usually when we crunch into the lower back, which we do not want. 4-part movement up next. We'll lift, we'll sweep, we'll bring it forward, we'll lower. Let's go. So just add on. You inhale, come to your shallow extension. Exhale, sweep the arm back, open through the chest. Inhale, sweep it forward. Exhale, lower down. 4-part movement. Keep that going. So we'll be passing the ball from hand to hand up next. Give me 2 more in this combo. Next time that arm is overhead and you're lowered, I want you to pause. Now you bring your right hand onto the ball as well. As you come into your extension, you're going to pass the ball behind your back. So inhale, you come up, the arm sweep back, switch it over to your right hand, sweep it forward as you lower, pass the ball again. So we're making a circle, passing that ball, broadness across the collarbone, so you're open through the chest here. We'll finish with that hold where we press everything into midline. Maybe both hands can come to the ball and you can squeeze them in. I do not quite have the shoulder mobility for that, so I'm just going to keep the ball in my left hand and squeeze both in towards midline. Next time you come into that extension, arms are back, hold. Press those palms in towards midline. Now reach your legs long, maybe legs come to a hover as well. Squeeze them into midline. So we're in this long darted line. Make sure you're breathing. We're connected to that abdominal wall. We're not collapsing down into it. You're here for 4, for 3, for 2, and 1. Opposite cheek to the mat. Bend your knees and windshield wiper them side to side. Awesome work. I'm going to bring you through a quick cool down. From here, stretch your arms out into a T shape. Or actually, I want you to bend the right elbow, tent the right fingertips, and let's kick the right foot up and over so it plants behind the left leg. So we get this nice shoulder and chest stretch. we'll take it over to the other side when you're ready. Right arm reaches long, 10th the left fingertips, left foot kicks up and over. Coming back through center, hands under your shoulders, press yourself back into a shell stretch, which is an active child's pose. So think of rounding your spine up towards the ceiling and then shifting those hips back so we get some flexion to counter the extension we just finished with. Breathing into that mid-back. And then shifting forward into a tabletop, tuck your toes under, hips up into a downward facing dog. Think of pressing your chest towards your thighs. You might pedal out the heels at first, but then I want you to settle into it, pressing both heels down towards the ground. When you're ready, you're going to shift forward, knees come down. Let's finish with some stillness. So just find a comfortable cross-legged position. One hand on each knee. You can close your eyes if you'd like. We're just going to take 3 deep breaths together, in through the nose, out through the mouth. If you would close your eyes, you can open them. That is your class. Awesome work today. If you enjoyed this, I have another full-length Pilates mat class up on my channel right now with more to come. You can also get access to more by becoming a Patreon member. All the info you need is at patreon.com/Nicole Pierce. If you enjoyed this workout, be sure to give the video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to my channel. I post new workouts here every week. Thanks, I'll see you next time.